Hi, I'm Brandy Ansley. I'm a doctoral student at Georgia State University, where I've been pursuing my PhD in special education. I was previously a special education teacher for 8 years. For 5 of those years, I was in an alternative school setting in a school district local to the Atlanta, Georgia area. And then for 3 years prior to that, I was at an urban high school in Augusta, Georgia. I also have a master's degree in clinical psychology with a lot of experience in teaching stress management workshops to a variety of audiences. These days, thanks to several sources of support, I've been able to combine my experience in special education and mental health and begin developing a career focused on researching and teaching about stress management for educators and positive, healthy learning environments. So this presentation is aimed at teacher educators, those of us who are responsible for preparing future teachers and even helping to continue the education of current teachers, helping to get them ready for the most important job in the United States, because every job begins with K through 12 education. So it is part of my agenda to include stress management in the training of our teachers and other school personnel who are inspired to work with students and help them with multiple learning needs. So teaching has been identified as one of the most stressful occupations. It's right up there with physicians, managers, nurses, basically with positions that have a lot of responsibility for other people. It's also included on a list with some positions where the workers may not have a lot of control over their workplace conditions. Teachers are an example of those professionals who have a lot of responsibility for other people, but little control over workplace factors. So teachers, they really do it all. They have a lot of demands, and they have to balance multiple demands in order to do their jobs effectively. Okay, so it's already an inherently stressful position, due to the amount of responsibility. Coping skills would be among the resources that teachers need in order to keep themselves well so they can do their job effectively. So, aside from having knowledge of education laws, the ability to deliver effective instruction, and a knack for shaping the behaviors of others, teachers also need effective coping skills, stress management, self-care. They need to be able to promote their own wellness in order for them to have the stamina necessary to help others. You see, in the private sector, particularly with large corporations who have the resources for doing so, they know that they have to invest in their employees because their bottom line, their outcomes, they're nothing without having healthy, happy workers who can produce. Well, in the schools, we know that we need healthy, happy teachers who are engaged in their jobs and enthusiastic about them in order to meet the various needs of students and to do their jobs effectively. However, states and systems seem to be asking teachers for more and more, and we ask them to do more and more with less and less. But as far as teacher educators go, after covering pedagogy and other instructional and behavioral strategies for students, we often don't get around to going through stress management and coping skills and wellness promotion for our teachers. But hey, don't take my word for it. There's plenty of research out there to show. And there are 6 reasons why, if we are not yet concerned about the health and wellness of our teachers, we need to start doing it, and we need to start promoting this from the beginning. First of all, Stress is just as much of a risk factor as any unhealthy behavior, as any genetic factor and whatnot. And I'm talking physical, mental, and emotional health. High blood pressure, heart disease, headaches, stomach aches, problems with concentration, with focus, more irritability, less patience. Overall, stress wears down a person's immune system, makes them sick. And when we're stressed out, we're less likely to take care of ourselves. After all, you hear about someone eating more unhealthy foods, reaching for the comfort food, drinking more, smoking more. All those things are likely to happen, and stress is to blame. Well, and if a teacher's health isn't enough, how about their job performance? How are they going to come to school and do a great job managing all these responsibilities and inspiring and educating our youth when they're not feeling well? They don't feel as well, and they don't feel as good about the job they do. And ultimately, they don't perform as well when they're under chronic amounts of stress. And of course, if you're not feeling so well, that also means you're going to be out of work more often. And if you're not out of work, whether it's due to a weakened immune system, so you caught a bug that's going around, or maybe you just need a mental health day, even if you are somehow dragging yourself to work, you might be showing up late, running behind schedule a lot, because you just don't have the energy, you just don't feel well. And then think about how it affects a teacher's ability to work with others, working with other teachers, working with students, even how they interact with their administrators. It ultimately does affect workplace relationships, makes it hard to deal with already stressful circumstances. And then the cycle just goes on, and the school climate suffers. And that school is not necessarily a happy place that you want to work or attend or even send your kids. And then, ultimately, a lot of teachers just leave. Even a recent report showed that nearly 50% of Georgia teachers, and this is just Georgia alone, but this holds same all over the nation, nearly 50% of teachers leave their jobs within the first 5 years. And you know, even for those who don't leave after the 5 years, they might be more likely to stay, but only a third remain engaged and enthusiastic about their position. And if we don't have teachers staying in their jobs who are engaged and enthusiastic about doing so, who ultimately suffers? Yep, it's the students. The bottom line, as I was saying, in making the parallel with the corporate world. Ultimately, student outcomes suffer because students can't learn and thrive in an environment that does not have a warm school climate conducive for such learning and growth to take place. And the school climate has to also be suitable for teachers and their working conditions. And on top of that, teachers have to have the coping skills necessary in order to address it all. It's a wonderful, rewarding job, but it is also a stressful one. The good news, though, I did mention that a third of teachers were engaged and enthusiastic. Well, and those teachers are also managing their stress more effectively. Teachers who manage their stress more effectively, they also tend to report better outcomes associated with their work, and that includes student outcomes. Now, it's not just about stress. I mean, yes, systemic changes are needed as well. Systemic changes that create better working conditions, that make it more conducive to have a school climate that supports healthy growth and learning among students. But nonetheless, there is a lot of responsibility and there are a lot of demands, and teaching is an inherently stressful position even under the best working conditions. So therefore, coping skills are necessary in order to make this happen and to adequately prepare our teachers. So teacher educators, I'm talking to you. If your teacher prep program includes stress management already, that's awesome. Please keep it going. Conduct some studies. Explore the impact. But if you happen to be at a university that does not include stress management across the teacher preparation program, you can still include it in your own preparation and in the work that you do with your students. So what can you do? You can embed stress management into the courses you teach. Explain how this connects to classroom management, instruction, and everything else that's going to inevitably come up. Check on your students. Ask them if they're doing well. Whatever resources you have at the university, encourage them to utilize them. That's whether this involves a counseling center, support groups for students, any sort of health and wellness activities, even a recreation center for exercise. Promote this self-care and encourage it among your students and mentees. Actively practice some of the coping skills with your students. Start class with a mindful activity. Role play different scenarios that pertain to the materials of the course you teach. Offer extra credit for self-care projects. Make it a thing. Do it. Because the truth is, teaching is not an easy job. It's rewarding, but it's not easy. And teacher resiliency and the ability to cope with stress is a foundation for them to be able to perform their job effectively and ultimately for them to do the kind of job that makes it possible for the best student outcomes that a student can have. For further information on how you can promote stress management for teachers in your teacher preparation program, first of all, there is an article that I co-authored recently that's published in Teaching Exceptional Children. It is written toward special education teachers, but it can actually apply to any teacher. And it's how they can use a self-directed stress management plan to help guide their own wellness program. And then also, there's a website that could get you started with teacher wellness resources and tools. There are classroom management tips for reducing stress. And anytime you'd like, please send me an email at that address that's listed. That should be my email address through May of 2018. And certainly I'll update it whenever that changes. Also, here are a list of references. This is a bare bones reference list. Any information that I presented to you that was not my own, it has come from one of these sources that are listed here. Do know that there are many others as well, but if you look at the ones that are on this list, it will definitely give you more information about what I referred to along the way in this presentation. Thank you so much for watching and listening. And again, if you have any questions for me, please don't hesitate to contact me. Thank you very much.